The town of Mount Pleasant reached out to us via Instagram originally with a need for good social media content for their Instagram, Facebook, and for their website. We decided on a certain number of deliverables, we agreed on a budget, and then it was time for us to figure out what the content was going to be. Our job on every project is to make it really simple for the client. A client doesn't need to tell us exactly what they want. Some people have a vision and that's great, but if they don't have a vision, they're relying on us to think of cool concepts so they don't have to do that thinking. They're coming to us to be the creative, and that's what we did for this project. I brought a whole bunch of ideas in. We collaborated on some of the specific locations and specific restaurants that made the most sense to feature. We left the meeting with a very specific shot list, so the client knew what to expect and we knew what we had to do to take the next steps in the project. For this project, the next step in the pre-production was reaching out to a whole number of different people. We're reaching out to, I think, about 15 different restaurants, coordinating with the owner or the chef in that restaurant when we can come in and film, letting them know what we need when we are filming, how long we're going to be there for, and trying to line those things up so we can do them in an efficient manner. So I was going through this morning and kind of fleshing out some ideas for the ones we've got coming up this week. We still need like an interview to tie it together. Well, let's try and get an intro to Tavern and Table folks. Okay. Basically just asking to do a short interview with them, like 15 minutes, and filming some food. Also, it's going further into the thought process of what I'm gonna do, what we're gonna do when we go into this restaurant or this location so we can be efficient with their time and efficient with our time. Okay. That's a different kind of... That's plastic that we use. Going into every one of these cinemagraphs or locations, I've got a strong idea about what I want to do there. I have a strong idea of what the final shot is going to look like. And when you go to these places, you run into different variables. You know, maybe there needs to be a human interaction of someone pouring some coffee or pouring some wine, or just the setting, you know, the lighting isn't perfect. And we have to work around all these variables to get that shot that we want. And sometimes it takes a number of takes. I'm also trying to think of how he was pouring it and to keep him in frame, so we might need a couple takes to get it right. It's important to stick through it and work on and get that take that you envisioned from the start. Be flexible to change it around a little bit if it's obviously not working because of some variables that you run into, but going in there with a strong vision of what we want the end product to look like is really important, and you know, that's how we nail them at the end of the day. So for example, at Rudy's Wine Shop, I had this idea to do some stop motion with the wine bottles moving and turning as they pass through the frame. When we got there, we started doing my concept, and about halfway through, we realized that our reflections were getting in these bottles. So what we did was actually start all over from zero, and for each time we would take a photo in the stop motion, we would duck down, get out of the shot, and then pop back up, take another photo. That's how you do stop motion. You take a photo for each frame. And so it was way more time consuming than we thought it was going to be. We had to do it a couple times to get it right, but at the end of the day, we were really happy with the output that we got from it. Another example is the water taxi, which is a boat that takes people from Mount Pleasant to downtown Charleston and back and forth. It's a cool, very Charleston thing. What I envisioned for the water taxi is something that I like to do on my Instagram a lot. I call them dronerangs. It's a boomerang with a drone. You start in close and go out far, and time flies by, and then you make it happen over and over. So with the water taxi, we had to figure out, okay, when's it going? We want to do it around sunset. Can we do it around sunset? Yes, there's one right before sunset. Figure it out. And we were able to go out there, and we actually did 2 drone rangs. to give the client options on what they liked better. Do they want both of them? And we were able to pull it off with the right lighting and get the right shot. Another example is what we did at Page's Ochre Grill. There they have these gigantic Bloody Marys that it's a Bloody Mary bar. You can put however much you want in it, and they're really cool and unique. So we knew we wanted to do something with it. I had an idea of what I wanted to do going into it, and then the chef brings out the Bloody Mary that she'd created and tailored for us, and it became clear that we weren't going to be able to do what I had envisioned with it. I was thinking there weren't as many skewers, so I don't think we can really What I had envisioned is taking like 1 or 2 skewers instead of like 7 and pulling them out of the drink and then putting them back in and having that part of it loop. What we ended up doing is sliding this giant Bloody Mary into the frame, and it really worked well. We even had some luck and got the bacon to fall off, which was a nice touch. For me, editing is a really fun part of the process because you've got something that you're taking from just a vision, something that was just an idea in your head, you pitched the client on it, you went out and filmed it, everything goes into the filming, the location, the lighting, the settings, the angles, and now you're into the editing portion of it, and that's really where it comes to life and you end up with something that is tangible. You can put it out into the world for people to see and enjoy it. Editing can be a really time-consuming part of the process because I'm a perfectionist. Even these short 10-15 second looping videos, which we're doing 25 of for this project, can take, a couple hours to do because I'm trying to get that loop perfect or the colors perfect, and just everything needs to be right and really be seamless for me to be happy with it. An example of a quick looping video that we did, one of these cinemagraphs, is this beer cheers right here, and I'll just play it through quickly. As you can see, it's a super simple looking clip. The colors are vibrant, there's a nice splash that came out of the beer, and it just looks pretty clean. A few things go into these short looping cinemagraphs. It's really just paying attention to the details. It's one, going through all the clips. You can see here, we probably did like 30 takes or so to get a good one. It's then finding that take, adding color to it. I'll show you just quick with and without the color. It's very flat and saturated, and then you can make the blues pop and just do things like that to make it look nicer. And then really the skill is in looping it. So I won't go into too much detail on that, but finding a good place to loop it and filming it with that loop in mind is important. Or if it's a longer piece, there's even more variables that go into it. You're taking the interview footage, cutting it down, and making a story out of it. You went into the video knowing the questions you're gonna ask and the prompts to try and draw something out of the interviewee, and you have to piece those things together. Maybe they didn't say it perfectly, or they said it kind of in 2 places, but half was here and half was here, and you're putting those together. So this project that I've got open right now is a really good example of that. We filmed out the Sweetgrass Pavilion, and as you can see, we've got about 20 minutes of interview footage here. We shot 2 camera angles, and each of those clips is about 20 minutes long. So this one's already finished. I've chopped it up. The first part of the process is to really take these cuts and figure out, okay, I like this section, I didn't like this section, let's just cut that out, and we just whittle it down. So I took that, and then here's kind of the selection of better clips that I liked, and eventually that turns into the finished video. So you can see here, I'm cutting up the intro and then another clip, and each of these clips, we'll just zoom in on them really quick. Each of these is from slightly different parts of the interview. And I'm cutting it together, or cutting out the ums, cutting out the uhs, and adding B-roll over top of it. And so to go from 20 minutes to 60 seconds or shorter, it can be very time consuming. And that's just what it takes to tell a story the right way. And when you put that attention to detail in it, it shows. I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at our creative process for this project with the town of Mount Pleasant. We're going to be doing more of these, so leave us comments down below with things that I didn't touch on that you want to hear about, questions that you have about the process and the editing and the filming and everything. We'll be in the comments answering them. So for now, signing off. We'll see you in the next one. This is Matt Coda from Vive Media.